So I'm guessing that by now, most of us have probably heard of this recent college admissions scandal that was in the news, right? It's been out for a couple months now. FBI indictments of a apparently legitimate sort of college admissions counselor. I didn't know there was such a thing as a college admissions consultant, who helped people sort of do the front end, the front gate to colleges, but then also established this sort of what he called a side entrance into the college admissions process, which allowed people who could pay a whole bunch of money for their children to cheat on the SAT and the ACT. Have somebody else take it for them, pay off the proctor who would correct their grades, to bribe college admissions, especially sporting programs, coaches and so forth, to accept somebody who actually has never played the sport, but to make sure they get admitted to the right school. There are doctored photographs of somebody on a rowing team, even though they've never rowed in their life, things like that. The one that really sort of irks me the most is part of this side entrance was encouraging people to fake a disability so that they could get extra accommodations to allow them the cheating to happen on the SAT and the ACT. It's really gross things. 33 parents have been indicted in this so far. And I want to be clear, this is really important, that as of last time I checked, none of the students, the children, have been indicted. There are no charges to any of the students. So this is about the parents in this whole situation. And it taught me a new phrase. I've not heard this one before. Maybe you know it already. The new phrase is snowplow parenting. Have you heard that one before? Snowplow parenting. It's not hard to imagine what that means, right? It is that sense that sometimes parents can have, that their job is to work really hard to stay 2 steps ahead of their children, to clear out every obstacle, every challenge, and every heartbreak out of the way. Snowplow parenting is apparently a thing, and it's what these 33 parents have been doing. And it's not just them. It's not just them. I hear from our VU professors about the phone calls they get from parents of young adult students saying, how can we fix this grade? I hear from folks who interview for young adults for jobs, and they talk about the parent who tagged along. Snowplow parenting. And as I read that, as I hear this story, as I think about that, I start to wonder, so is that what love looks like these days? Snowplow. Make sure there are no discouragements or disappointments or challenges or the chance to do it yourself. But I tell you what, the people that my heart breaks for, there are many in this whole situation, but are the kids that this happened to. And again, to be clear, it sounds like at least most of the kids did not know this was happening. But can you imagine the phone call when they called home and said to their parents, do you really think so little of me? Do you really think so little of me that I can't create my own future? That you're going to diminish me because you've decided I need to be at a certain school, a school that has some glory attached to it? Is that what love looks like today? It was the night before he died when Jesus gave us a new commandment. Think about that. The night before he died, and Jesus said, I give you a new commandment, which is crazy, because there's nothing about that commandment that's new. He says, love one another. And you know what? Most, if not all, religious systems, since we've had religious systems or philosophical systems, have involved some version of love each other, be good to each other, care for one another. All you need is love. Love is a many splendored thing. Love makes the world go around. Near as I can tell, every song on Spotify has the word love associated with it. It's not that there's anything new about this. Even just a little bit before this night that he died, somebody came up to Jesus and said, "So, Master, teacher, how would you summarize what Scripture tells us, what we have as inherited from our Jewish cousins, what we call the Old Testament? How would you summarize Torah? Going back thousands of years. And what does Jesus say? Love God, love each other. There's nothing new about a command to love each other except for who's saying it and when. The when is the night before he died. This is as Jesus is drawing close to the cross. He knows where he's going. He knows what is coming. He knows that Judas, one of his innermost disciples, is looking for a time to betray him. He's going to go to the authorities and give them the tip-off that allows them to arrest Jesus when there's not a crowd and going to be a riot. Jesus knows this is coming. And it's on this night that Jesus gives the new commandment. And then look at who's saying it. Because this is Jesus, but we know this is the Son of God. Jesus literally had heaven. Everything in heaven was Jesus's. That's where Jesus belongs. The Son of God sitting at the right hand of the Father. Jesus had heaven and did not have to come down. Jesus didn't have to be here for you and for me. But Jesus did. Jesus gave up everything, and I do mean everything, for the sake of giving us everything. Jesus gave up everything to give everything for us. And it's this same Jesus who gave up everything, who just before this knelt at Judas's feet. Think about that. Judas was there, who's about to betray him, about to hand him over so that he can be killed on a cross. It is at Judas's feet that Jesus looks up, looks him in the eye, and then reaches out for his dirty, filthy, stinking, aching feet, and does for Judas something wonderful. Takes his feet, pours water, washes them, those aching, cracked feet, and dries them with his own towel. And only then, Jesus says, now go and do what it is you need to do. This is who says, I give you a new commandment. And it's not the love each other part that's new. It's the love each other like that. Love one another the way I love you, Jesus says. That is the new commandment. Love that looks like that, kneeling, giving, doing for the other what needs to be done for someone who does not deserve this, like me, like you, like us. And then Jesus says, that's how you know. That's how we know. That's how we know we are following him. When our love looks like pretty different, isn't it? That's a different kind of love than what we see elsewhere. We see so many places in our world, impulses and actions that are based on fear. Even snowplow parenting is based in fear. But this is an action based out of the giving of ourselves, to kneel there for the one who's beloved and to give everything. To take the gifts, the moments, the hands, the self, the resources, the talents, and to give them for the sake of the other. That, Jesus says, is love. And when you see that love, when you act out that love, Jesus says, you can know that you're following me. So let me tell you a true story. It was Wednesday this week at about 11:30 p.m. that we got a phone call from the American Red Cross local chapter and the emergency management system here in our area. We've been talking to them for a while, wondering if, with a building as wonderful as we've been given here, that we have the privilege of stewarding and tending to, are there other ways that we can serve and help other people with them? And it so happened that at 11:30 at night on Wednesday, there was an apartment building nearby that needed to be evacuated. And they didn't know where people could go. And so they called us up at 11:30 at night and said, we need someplace safe and someplace where they can stay overnight. Is it possible that you could help? Within half an hour, within 30 minutes of a phone call at 11:30 at night, I am proud to say that our building was open, our volunteers were in order, and we were able to take in people who had no place else to go. For the next 36 hours, we hosted them, we provided hospitality, we fed them, we made sure they had a place to stay. We stayed with them and talked with them so that they could be safe, and this is what we did together. Those who were able to be here have said that they lost count of the number of hugs they received at the end of those 36 hours. Another who was participating in it said he was talking to one of our emergency management leaders in the area and mentioned that he goes to church here, who was just effusive. Oh my gosh, you were so wonderful. Thank you for that. And so now we're officially a Red Cross Center. But think about this. 30 minutes notice, an opportunity to be there and provide hospitality for people who needed it and had no other place to go. We did that. That's us. Together, we can do things like that. But it takes all of us, doesn't it? To be able to offer these sorts of resources, to be able to love in that way, to be able to serve in that way to people who are at wit's end. That's what we did together. But it takes all of us, doesn't it? It takes the gifts that we're given, our time and our talents, and yes, our resources to be able to do things like this. And it is moments like that, moments when we are kneeling at the feet of others, moments when we can be there and serve and, yes, to love. That's how we know, isn't it? That's how we know that we are following Jesus in this place. That's how I know that you are following Jesus. Because that's what we do. Given so much, beloved so much, entrusted with so much, gathered and loved by the one who kneels at our feet. We then are the ones who can kneel at the feet of others. Now that is love.